This week, I decided I wanted to do something a little bit different. Since Dead by Daylight is one of my favorite games, I added one perk to every Overwatch hero. However, you might be thinking to yourself, that's a little bit similar to your other videos. Well, in Dead by Daylight, you're allowed to bring 4 different perks into the game. So what I did is that even though I put these perks on heroes, you are allowed to have 4 different perks, or 4 changes in this case, on a singular hero, and it doesn't even have to be the original hero. So this means that you can choose Ana, Ashe, Baptiste, Bastion as the perks, and then go play Cassidy or someone. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy. And since I've never done a video where you can mismatch my changes, this is guaranteed to break and maybe conflict with each other. So this game mode, I don't expect to work perfectly, but here's the code on screen anyways if you want to try it. And there is a Google document link in the description since I am unable to fit all the descriptions on screen at once. So refer to the document if you ever need any help. For Ana, I gave her borrowed time from Bill. I was told to give Ana a Bill perk, and this is the one I decided to go with since she was shot in the eye. When you respawn, you have a 130% move speed and you are unkillable for 15 seconds. However, if you hit 1 HP, you will get 2 seconds of invulnerability and 150% movement speed. That will then end the borrowed time after those 2 seconds. Basically, this is an anti-spawn camping perk. In Dead by Daylight, borrowed time extends the endurance meter after you get unhooked, aka it protects you longer from being tunneled off. So in Overwatch, I decided to have the same idea where you can't just keep getting killed over and over again, aka spawn camped. For Ashe, I gave her Smash Hit. As of right now, I honestly cannot remember why I gave Ashe Smash Hit, but what Smash Hit does in Dead by Daylight is when you pallet stun the killer, you get a speed boost. In Overwatch, when you knock back someone with Smash Hit, you will get a speed boost for 4 seconds. This will then put your exhaustion on a 30-second cooldown. As a fun fact that will be relevant later, when you melee someone, that for some reason counts as knockback, so you don't even have to waste Coach Gun to activate this. Next up is Baptiste with Boon Circle of Healing. Boon Circle of Healing increases your healing speed in the boon area in Dead by Daylight. So in our version, when you place the boon with Interact and Reload, you will do 150% healing while in that 15-meter radius. However, you will only get 5 boons per match, meaning that if an enemy destroys it by stepping on it, you will lose one of your boons. This has a 10-second cooldown just so you can't keep moving it, and this is the only boon I decided to do. But just so you're aware, if you ever see this light blue orb, that is Boon Circle of Healing, and all you gotta do is step on it to destroy it. After that, we got Bastion. I gave him Self-Care. The reason I gave him Self-Care was just because he used to be able to heal himself in Overwatch 1, so the funny Bastion man can heal himself again. The way you heal yourself is by emoting, so just start having a party in the corner, and you'll be happy again. After that is Brigitte with Knockout. Knockout in Dead by Daylight is basically when you hit someone, a lot of bad effects happens to them and their teammates can no longer see them. So what I did is when you hit someone with your ability 1 or ability 2, it will disable their HUD and outlines for 5 seconds. This only hits one person at a time and it has a 15-second cooldown. I wanted to give Brig Knockout just because getting hit by that whip flail feels like it would give you a concussion or something, so making you disoriented by disabling your HUD and outlines felt right. Next up for Cassidy, believe it or not, it's going to be flashbang. When you press interact and your ability 2, you will throw a flashbang. This will blind people in a 15-meter radius around it for 3 seconds, and this has a 40-second cooldown. I am a little bit scared. This is gonna be a little strong. And by the way, I don't really think I have to explain why I gave flashbang to the guy with the ability of a flashbang, but hopefully this ability won't be too annoying. Next up is D.Va, and I gave D.Va Lithe. To get it out the way, the reason that I gave D.Va Lithe was just because I wanted to give D.Va a Fang Men perk. But the other reason is because when you press your ability 1, you will gain a speed boost of 175%. Meaning that when you booster as D.Va, you just zoom forward. After that, we actually got another exhaustion perk with Doomfist. I gave Doomfist Overcome, and I did this since he says stuff like overcome adversity or whatever. When you hit half health, you will automatically activate your exhaustion perk, and you will get a speed boost, and the cooldown is 40 seconds. It's basically like Lithe, but a different criteria to activate it. This exhaustion perk actually didn't translate very well into Overwatch, and I think most people are gonna want a more entertaining perk, but the name fit with Doomfist, and I probably could have found the better one, but Overcome is someone's favorite perk. Next up for Echo is Genetic Limits. This perk is on Singularity in Dead by Daylight, and it's a robotic-like thing, and Echo's a robotic-like thing. So when you knock someone under half health, you will add 8 seconds to their exhaustion. This will also reset their movement back to normal. Basically, Echo's perk is a counter to exhaustion perks. There are not very many of these in this game mode. However, if you are getting really annoyed at all the speed boosting, you can put on genetic limits, get someone to half health, and then their speed will be set back to normal. After that, with Genji, we got yet another exhaustion perk. I promise there's only like 8 of them in this game mode. We have Dead Hard. When you press interact and melee, you will give yourself the unkillable status effect for 2.5 seconds. If you go down to 1 HP during that time, you'll get a 200% speed boost for 8 seconds and become invulnerable for 4 seconds. However, there is one little issue. This only works once per life, meaning that you have to die in order to get it. So that means on your first life, you will not have Dead Hard. This is actually one of the rare perks that you could maybe have with another exhaustion perk. However, since it has a 40-second exhaustion cooldown, it's going to be hard to use it and another one. Next up is Hanzo with Nemesis. After you get knocked back, you will change that person to the global obsession. This will then reveal their aura to you and remove outlines from their point of view for 4 seconds. This has a 20-second cooldown. This seems pretty weak. However, this is one of the only perks that can change the global obsession. I have not mentioned this yet, but there is a global obsession on each team. This ended up not being as impactful as I was hoping it would be, but there is a couple perks that use the obsession. I mean, I know how this perk is going to be useful just because I've played Dead by Daylight, but this video would be way too long if I explained that right now. So let's move on to Yari with Soul Survivor. I should mention that originally I was going to give her Champion of Light, but someone mentioned that Soul Survivor should be on her, so I moved Champion of Light to someone else. When you are the only one alive, you will gain a 175% damage dealt and a 175% movement speed. This will last for 15 seconds. This perk I expect to be very weak since it's really hard to get all of your teammates to die while you're still alive, while still getting value from it. However, if it ever does come down to a 1v1, I guess you'll be super buffed. Next up for Junkyard Queen, I gave her Sloppy Butcher. This just sounded right and someone recommended it, so that's why I did it. After you damage someone with your ability 1 or 2, you will change their healing to 75% for 5 seconds. This actually will counter healing perks because it will actually override the healing buff. This has a cooldown of 10 seconds, so you can't just keep reapplying it over and over and over again. However, if you just are barely not killing people and you just hate those pockets, I guess this perk will be helpful for you. Oh, and I probably should have mentioned, I did adjust these perks a lot to make them fit into Overwatch, so if you wish I did it in a different way, please comment down below how you would have done it differently, or what other perks you would have put on different heroes. Next up for Junkrat actually is one of my favorite changes that I added. I gave him Tinkerer. I thought about giving this to Torbjorn, but I gave Torbjorn something else. So when Junkrat's ult is at 70%, you will become invisible for 16 seconds. In Dead by Daylight, when a generator hits 70%, your terror radius will be hidden. I can't really hide someone's noises in Overwatch just because that's not a setting. So I made you just straight up invisible. There's only one little problem with this. When you take damage, this will deactivate. Now with the way I coded this, I made a mistake and this will actually reactivate every 60 seconds while your ultimate is above 70% ultimate charge. So if you want Tinkerer to keep reactivating over and over again, keep your ultimate above 70%. Otherwise, if you use your ultimate, obviously Tinkerer will no longer go off. After that, we got Juno with another exhaustion perk. However, this is balanced landing. Since Juno crash landed into Dorado, I'm sure you know why I gave her balanced landing. When you fall from a somewhat big height, you will gain a speed boost, and your exhaustion will go on cooldown. There isn't too much to say about this, but it actually fits really well with Juno, since you can double jump, and then when you hit the ground, you will get a speed boost. After that, we got Kiriko. I gave Kiriko Urban Evasion because I wanted to give someone Urban Evasion, and I felt like Kiriko being a vigilante would work with that. When you crouch, you will be 180% faster, meaning you will be about the same speed as if you were walking normally. This will override your exhaustion speed, so do not use your exhaustion perk and then crouch on accident because it will override it and undo the speed boost. This perk, I'm not sure how useful it will be, but it will be really fun for stealth gameplay. For Lifeweaver, this one probably shouldn't have gone on him for the purposes of what it does. I gave him Starstruck because he's sexy, and I'm starstruck when I see him. Okay. Anyway, Starstruck in Dead by Daylight, when you knock someone down and then you pick them up, you'll make everyone else around you exposed, meaning that you can insta-down them. In Overwatch's case, you can't really pick someone up, So I made it so when you get a final blow on an enemy, the teammates around them will take double damage for 5 seconds. So this perk is actually really good on people who are just not Lifeweaver. Maybe someone like a Reinhardt who can almost guarantee a final blow. But I just wanted to give Starstruck to Lifeweaver so badly. And this is actually kind of the same case with Lucio, where I gave him For the People. Since Lucio is for the people in lore, I tried to translate this perk into Overwatch. It didn't go very well, I'm very sorry. When you press interact in crouch, you will instantly heal teammates around you for 175 health. However, you will instantly lose 50 health, and this has a 30-second cooldown. This perk isn't that cool, I'm gonna be honest with you. In Dead by Daylight, this perk works around the same. You can basically translate your health state to another survivor. In Overwatch, that doesn't work very well, and it would be super weak. So I decided to do this instead, and it's just basically a worse Baptiste left shift. Actually, it's maybe not worse just because it does more healing. But the reason I am so disappointed is because I could have given him Bardic Inspiration. Bardic Inspiration is just music, and Lucio's the music man, so that's why I wanted to do that. So I put Bardic Inspiration on someone else. However, I really wish I would have put it on Lucio and just scrapped For the People entirely. Next up for Mauga, we have Friends Till the End. This is a super creepy perk, and I had to give Mauga a killer perk. He's also friends with Baptiste, or like sus friends with Baptiste. They're like buddies, question mark. Lovers, exclamation mark? I better not add that in the video. Whenever you get a final blow on an enemy, the aura of the obsession is revealed to you for 10 seconds, and they will take double damage for 20 seconds. This has a 25-second cooldown. This is basically bullying the obsession, the perk. This is actually very similar to Starstruck, but rather than it being all the people around you, it will just be one person, and that one person will be affected way longer and you can see them. Now there's one little caveat with Friends Till the End I haven't mentioned yet. What happens if you kill the obsession? Then the perk is useless, right? Well, actually, it will switch the obsession to someone else, which means that Nemesis is probably useless. I kind of stuttered there at the end because I secretly know there is a use, I just can't spoil it yet because we're not there yet. But Friends Till the End is one of the most unique perks on this list, and I really hope it doesn't break. Please, Overwatch Workshop, don't break. After that, we got Mei with Spine Chill. In Dead by Daylight, when the killer has line of sight of you, it will activate and give you like some bonuses. However, that doesn't really translate into Overwatch just because that's kind of useless. So what I wanted to do, the idea with this perk is, first off, Spine Chill, Mei, Ice, Chill, you know. But whenever somebody looks at you, they will become frozen for 1 second with a cooldown, of course. However, I had a hard time detecting when someone was looking at you. So instead, whenever you take damage, the attacker will get frozen for 1 second. Now, obviously, this has a cooldown. So once you shoot someone, that attacker will be frozen for 1 second, but then for another 30 seconds, they can attack you freely. However, I'm a little worried this perk will be a little powerful since it's a 1 second stun on a 30-second cooldown and it's automatic. But just like the Mauga one, this is actually one of my favorite ones because it's just kind of cute. Next up is Mercy with No One Left Behind. No One Left Behind is really hard to translate into Overwatch. So what it does in my version is whenever you are on the objective for 10 seconds straight, anyone who respawns on your team will get a speed boost out of spawn. This will deactivate after 30 seconds or if you get off the objective. And then once it deactivates, it will have a 20-second cooldown. I obviously gave Mercy No One Left Behind because she's a battle medic. And I really wanted to do one where people had low health, you could help them. But I kind of like my version better just because I imagine myself on the payload and my teammates are respawning and they're kind of getting left behind because the payload is going without them. So this would help them catch up and not be left behind. Especially because I probably didn't mention it yet. I made it so the objective moves 25% faster on every map. Now, the reason I did this is because I'm really worried that stalling is going to be very powerful in this game mode with all the speed boost and like borrow time and all that. So the attackers do have a buff in this game mode. However, typically my game modes are defender sided anyways, so I'm sure this buff might not even help. After that, we got Moira with Superior Anatomy. This suggestion, in my opinion, fits perfectly for Moira. So how I did this perk in Overwatch is whenever your closest enemy uses their ability 1, you will then also get your ability 1 back off cooldown. This has a cooldown of 25 seconds. This one's cute. I like having Moira with Superior Anatomy. It just sounds cool. And I'm a little worried this one might be a little broken having 2 left shifts back to back, but it will be fun nonetheless. Next up, we got Orisa with the Machine Learning. Orisa's a machine learning. I'm sure you know why I did that. Whenever 4 enemies are on the objective at the same time, you will become straight up invisible and gain a speed boost for 60 seconds. This will work just like Tinkerer though, where if you take damage, this will end. This will have a 25-second cooldown after you're revealed. This one seems very strong, but how often are all 4 enemies on the objective? Not too often. This perk will be very niche and will only work against people who are coordinated. However, you get a very powerful effect if you do pull it off. I mean, it's not really in your control because they can just knock it on the objective. But hey, whatever, this perk's cute. Next up is Pharah, and this one's a little bit off the wall. So Iron Maiden is a meme perk in Dead by Daylight where when somebody exits a locker, they will scream and they'll be exposed, basically incentivizing people to not go into lockers. However, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's no lockers in Overwatch, so instead I made it work with health packs. But instead of having the normal effects, okay? Instead of making it so you're exposed when an enemy grabs a health pack like a normal person would, I decided for some god's forsaken reason to make it so when you grab a health pack, you will gain 500% damage dealt. Yes, so you can basically insta-kill for 4 seconds after you grab a health pack. I don't know why I did this. I have actually, in parentheses, I don't have reasoning on any of these freaking on this document at all. I don't have any reasoning. Except for on this one, because it was like 4 in the morning, I had no sleep, and I said, reasoning, rocket guitar emote, because she has a rocket guitar emo, and apparently that translates to Iron Maiden, the band. And then I put, this is a meme idea, by the way. This doesn't translate to the perk very well. I can tell. Oh, by the way, I apparently coded it so it doesn't work on self-damage either. Next up is the Ram Daddy. I gave him Head On. Since he's the leader of Null Sector, I imagine him leading. Obviously, I could have given him Leader, but I felt like Head On will be more fun because I'll show you now. When you touch the objective, you will gain a speed boost like all other exhaustion perks. However, you will stun all enemies that are in a 10-meter radius for about half a second. The goal with this is to head on to the objective, lead your team, and that 0.75 stun will give you the opportunity to. This perk is strong, but obviously doesn't work without the objective. Next up for Reaper is one that, at least on a coding perspective, gave me nightmares, but also in-game I'm sure has given many people nightmares. Hex, no one escapes death. In overtime, you'll gain double damage. If you die or the game goes out of overtime, your damage will go back to normal. This also has a time limit of 2 minutes. Originally, I was going to make it so it automatically places a boon for you, but since you can put it in spawn, since you know you can see the match timer, you'll know when it spawns, I decided just to make it a timer or when you die or when you go out of overtime. This one is surprisingly buggy. If for some reason everyone's doing double damage all the time, please disable Reaper. But yeah, in overtime, you basically can kill everyone. Like I said, this only works in overtime, so if you never get to overtime, this isn't a problem. However, if you do get to overtime, it will actually announce that you have it also, just because in Dead by Daylight, once you hit someone, it will announce that you have Hex Noed. So in Overwatch, it does the same thing. Next up for Reinhardt, again, from a coding perspective, this one's kind of funny. I gave him Rapid Brutality. Now this does not work with Reinhardt from a theme perspective, but with what it does, I thought it was cool. Every time you melee someone, your speed will increase by 5%. This can go on infinitely, by the way. However, if you don't melee someone after 10 seconds, your speed will go back to default. Basically, the idea with this is that when you hit someone as Reinhardt, you get faster. Then faster, then faster, then faster, then faster, and you can just run people down. I thought it'd be cool. However, in the Overwatch Workshop, Reinhardt's melee counts as his primary, so you can't detect when he's meleeing instead of primarying, meaning that if you have any code that says melee, it doesn't work on Reinhardt. So I had to customly make it so it works on Reinhardt, which is pretty funny. And I should mention this does not work on Brig, because I didn't want it to. I don't want combat running me down on Brig. I really don't. I really only think this perk is going to work on maybe Reinhardt and Venture just because they can do a lot of damage with their melees. Regardless, have fun with it! Next up is Roadhog, and I gave him Hubris. Hubris is defined as excessive pride or self-confidence, and since Roadhog is buddies with Junkrat, who seems like he has a little bit of excessive pride, I thought it'd be cute to put Hubris on Roadhog. After you get knocked back, the target will get exposed, aka do double damage to them. This will last for 10 seconds and has a 20-second cooldown. Tanks don't typically appreciate getting knocked back, so I put it on Roadhog over Junkrat. Also, I wanted to give Junkrat Tinkerer, so blah blah blah. So this perk will hopefully incentivize people not knocking Roadhog back, or else he might one-shot them. Also, I know I'm talking about each hero with their own perk, but you can put this perk on any hero. So I guess it works on Reinhardt to two-shot people alongside his rapid brutality. For Sigma, with one of my favorite ones in Diversion. Diversion in Dead by Daylight will throw a pebble that does a noise notification. This is a meme perk, and in this game mode, it's also a meme perk. When you press interact and ultimate while not having your ultimate so you don't use it, you will teleport yourself to your crosshair position, and then you will make a noise, you will say hello, and then after 1 second, you will teleport back to your original position. Another 20-second cooldown, by the way. Originally, I was gonna spawn a dummy bot at that position, but since that will mess with like the obsession and all that and soul survivor and all those perks, I decided to just make it so you teleport yourself. Now this does mean that you can use your abilities and teleport into somebody's face and use your ability. However, it's just so funny teleporting next to someone, saying hello and going away. I love this perk. I don't care if it's broken or not. Next up is Sojourn, and I was gonna give them leader, but I thought the perk would be a little bit too boring, potentially even overpowered, just being a straight damage buff to your teammates. So since I was getting a little bit towards the end of the changes, I decided to do something a little bit quirky, and I gave Sojourn Insidious. In Dead by Daylight, when you stand still for a couple seconds, your terror radius will go away. And if you know what I did with Tinkerer on Junkrat, you'll probably be able to guess that I made it so when Sojourn emotes, they go invisible. I really wanted to add Insidious, but I didn't know which hero I wanted to add it on. So since Sojourn was one of the last ones I did, I just put it on Sojourn. I guess it kind of fits with their vigilante lore. Next up is Soldier 76, and I had to give them a Bill perk. I gave Soldier Unbreakable. In lore, Soldier fakes his death and then comes back. So with Unbreakable, just how like you can pick yourself up from the ground in Dead by Daylight from the dying state, you will resurrect yourself if you press interact while dead. However, this only works once. Not once per life, just once total in a game. This is such a powerful effect that I just had to limit it to only once total. This is also how it works in Dead by Daylight, so for once the mechanics kind of line up. Next up on Sombra is Lethal Pursuer. Whenever an enemy respawns, their aura will be revealed to you for 9 seconds. In Dead by Daylight, when you start the trial, you can see where all the survivors are. In Overwatch, when you kill someone, they will turn white. And then when they respawn, they should have their outline, but because the Overwatch Workshop is bugged and outlines don't work, sometimes this doesn't work out, but I really tried my best to get the outlines to work. So if they don't, I'm sorry, but if they do, you will get to spawn camp people. This idea alone was why I added borrowed time onto Ana in the first place. After that, we got Symmetra. Symmetra, I wasn't sure what I was gonna do, but then on Yari, I gave her Soul Survivor, and I had Champion of Light left over. Since Symmetra works with Hard Light, I thought it was perfect. After dealing knockback, you will blind the target for 3 seconds. On top of that, since it's a weaker version of flashbang, your cooldowns during this time will subtract by 3. Now you might notice that Symmetra actually doesn't really have a knockback. However, like I said with Ashe, for whatever reason, melees do a very slight knockback. So the way that you activate this perk on Symmetra in particular is by meleeing someone, which kind of is fitting because a little bit of light comes out when you melee. Next up is Torbjorn with Franklin's Demise. Starting about now is when I'm just adding perks that I like rather than fitting to certain characters. I have no idea how Franklin is relevant to Torbjorn. However, in Dead by Daylight, when you hit a survivor, you will make them drop their item. In Overwatch, I thought about disabling their gun, but I thought that was kind of dumb. So instead, you will just make them reload. This means that some characters don't work, like Mauga since Mauga's bugged, or Hanzo who doesn't really have ammo. But this one's just kind of dumb and fun. Next up is Tracer with one that I was gonna give to Lucio and I really should have, and that's Bardic Inspiration. Tracer had the mythical skin during the D&D Battle Pass season, so that's why I made that connection. I really should have given this to Lucio. When you emote, you give a 30% damage boost to your allies. What's funny with this is if they come within 10 meters of you and then walk away, they will actually keep their damage boost because they're so happy. However, once you stop emoting, obviously this will go away. Next up is Venture with one of my favorite perks from Dead by Daylight, even though I don't even have it, and that is Plot Twist. When you press Interact and Ability 1, you will knock yourself to the ground for 3 seconds. If you somehow survive, you will instantly heal. This has a cooldown of 30 seconds. On certain characters, this doesn't work, and on Venture in particular, you sometimes have to press other buttons than Ability 1. I don't know why. I probably should have said this earlier, but if something doesn't work, just try pressing different buttons. I know on Mercy, like, their controls are switched on console, so good luck figuring out what button it actually is because I have no idea. Very sorry about that. Next up is Widowmaker with Strength and Shadows. When you grab a health pack, you will reveal the closest enemy to you for 10 seconds. This has a cooldown of only 15 seconds, and it does not work when you self-damage yourself. This one is kind of boring, but originally I was going to give them Visionary and make it so when you killed someone, you get wall hacks on the other enemies. But I only did Strength and Shadows just because it was a cooler name. Next up is Winston with the buggiest perk of them all. I have no idea if this perk will work, but I did have to adjust it a bunch for it to work, and that is Territorial Imperative. Originally I had it so if someone was by themselves you would see their aura, but that just didn't work and it broke a lot. So now whenever the closest person to you touches the objective, you will reveal their position for 6 seconds and you will get your ability 1 back. The goal with this perk was originally to make it so when somebody was by themselves, it would reveal their position, give you your jump back, and then you can jump on them. But that is not how it worked out. So I guess this is just another way to get your ability 1 back, kind of like the Moira perk. For Wrecking Ball, we got one that's actually really fun and really hard to use, and that is Teamwork Collective Stealth. When you emote with someone within 12 meters of you, you both will become invisible. Once you are not within 12 meters of each other, or one of you takes damage, you will both become visible. This has a 2-minute cooldown. Do keep in mind that this is a long cooldown because it's a very powerful effect, and technically multiple people can have it. But this is more of a meme perk. I just found it funny. Since Wrecking Ball is super small, I needed to give him like a stealth perk, I guess. I mean, I guess I didn't need to, but I wanted to. So Teamwork Collective Stealth, working with someone on your team to go invisible, I thought would be fun. For Zarya, we got one that's actually also really fun, and that's Rancor. In overtime, you can insta-kill whoever the obsession is on the other team. I know it's been a hot second, but you know how I said that it's really overpowered changing the obsession in certain scenarios? Well, if you pair this with the Hanzo Nemesis perk, in overtime, if anyone knocks back you will make them the obsession and you can insta-kill them. This might be a little overpowered, but in Dead by Daylight it works the same way, so I kept it the same. And on top of that, at the beginning of overtime, you'll get an arrow above their head to see where they are. And finally, we have Zenyatta, and I wasn't sure what to give Zenyatta, so I just gave him one of my friend's favorite perks, and that's Dramaturgy. When you press interact and jump, you will get a speed boost of 175%, just like every other exhaustion perk. However, after those 3 seconds, you will get an added effect. This will either be another speed boost, you will gain 20% of your ultimate, become frozen for 2 seconds, or you will take damage. Have fun gambling. And that was one Dead by Daylight perk for every single hero. Keep in mind that a lot of these decisions were made because I had trouble coding the one that I actually wanted to give them. And since you're allowed to have 4 of these perks on at the same time, that was another added difficulty, so I hope you guys enjoyed the effort I put into it, even if some of them don't work all the time. Here's a quick screenshot of the ones that we didn't add but had ideas for, just in case you were interested. And feel free to comment down below perks that you would have done on certain heroes that I didn't add, or move some around that I just didn't do for some reason. For example, Bardic Inspiration I think should have gone to Lucio. Anyways, like and subscribe, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and here's a playlist on screen for if you want to watch more of my videos.